Okay, and we are live. Um,
What's
yeah,
up?
thank you very much, Katastrophe, for joining the podcast. Just quickly, do you want to say a word or two about yourself and what you do?
Well,
I can introduce you for you if you'd like.
okay. I had the stream open in another window, and I was wondering why you were repeating yourself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Um,
I'm not trapping.
so
Okay.
I just kind of blanked, and I was like, wait, is he speaking twice at the same time? What's going on? So, my name is Kit, and I am a Transformer reviewer, and I have been for the past 2 years. That's about all there is to me.
Um, Well, well said. What I was saying when we initially started talking is that I discovered you. Uh, what is it? 2, 3 months ago now that I reached out to you,
I believe
and
so.
yeah, and you've quickly become one of uh, my favorite Transformer reviewers, just because you've got an approach that is well thought out. You clearly take your videos seriously, and I talked about a lot of this stuff with the Lazy Eyebrow reviewer because I have a lot of the same kind of respect for him. Um, do you want to go over again? Uh, what your approach is to your videos. We talked a little bit about this beforehand.
Um, yeah. Well, basically, well, hmm, I don't really know how to describe it too well, but basically, like, the kind of video I like to make is like clear and concise, and like other channels that have been around a lot longer than I have just seem to, even to this day, kind of meander and bloviate over figures they review. So, and that's just not something I like to watch. It's not something I like to listen to. So I just prefer reviewers who are a lot more direct in what they think about figures, and just I just don't like reviewers who like waste time.
Which is exactly the point of this show. Is just to waste time. So hopefully we can find a way to reach a middle ground. But I'm not a reviewer, so maybe I'm an exception.
Well, this
Um,
isn't. Well, this also isn't a Transformers review, so
there you go. Yeah. Um, yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I like a lot about your videos is the comedic value in the timing of your edits. There's like an art form there that I can't quite grasp, but you'll make a joke. There was this one video I was watching. You were repeating a punchline over and over again, and then you went to say it a third time, and then you cut yourself off halfway through, and I laughed out loud, not having laughed at the punchline either of the times beforehand. Do you strive to work in a comedic element to your scripts, or do you just happen to be funny?
Sometimes I do try. Sometimes I just write a script to just write a script and just make a regular old video. Sometimes, though, I do get these little bits of inspiration that I like to pepper into my videos. It doesn't come very often, but when I do, I think people tend to really enjoy it. Like for my last video for Earthrise Thundercracker, I got the idea to Photoshop Theo Adams as a scene girl when I was talking about how Skywarp attracts all the scene girls at Hot Topic, and I had him like roll around on at the bottom of the screen. A few people in the comments seem to enjoy that a lot. So,
Do,
um,
do you think there's a lot of people making videos the way that you are? Do you see yourself as being unique, or do you think that you're part of maybe a class of YouTubers?
I wouldn't really say there's any standout qualities to me as a reviewer. Like if you just ask me, oh, what do you do differently from everyone else, I probably couldn't answer you, because like I just kind of um take bits and pieces of presentation that I just really admire in other YouTubers and just kind of put them together. Like, for instance, one of my other biggest inspirations or influences rather in terms of Transformers reviews would be RuneScape 228, otherwise known as Runestone. He's not on YouTube anymore, but he is on Dailymotion. Basically, like, his later videos were more slideshow-esque and like quiet and sort of like a fireside chat, you know. And I really liked that kind of presentation, so mine is kind of similar. I guess really the only thing that puts me apart from other YouTubers would be my very specific brand of snark, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know if I would really describe it that way, but that's the only thing that's popping into my head.
yeah, I really appreciate when a reviewer has something not just negative but clever to say about whatever toy they happen to be reviewing, and you
Yeah,
come at it in a way that's funny and intelligent.
thank
And
you.
for sure, there's too many reviews that I see where it seems to be suspiciously positive the whole time, and I can't help but think that that surely there must have been some issue that was had with the toy, but maybe I'm just I'm looking for that, and maybe that's not realistic. I don't know. Do you try and be snarky all the time, or do you find that you just genuinely have a lot of issues with, or that you always have a problem or two with each toy?
If I just generally don't like a figure, I try to play up the negativity. But like if I genuinely like the figure, I probably try to downplay issues. Um, I like one of my I guess my modus operandi would be just to be sort of like one of the more negative reviewers where like there's a bunch of like you said, there's a bunch of reviewers where like they're nothing but positive. So like I try to like balance that out sometimes. And you know, there's nothing wrong with being positive in your reviews. It's probably a lot better just to review things you like rather than things you don't. But I just think it makes for more entertaining videos if you don't like the thing you're reviewing.
Yeah, it's
Um,
funny. We talked beforehand about the value of scripting, and how there's one particular channel that manages to do a very good job and yet be unscripted. And I would say that the same thing is true for being overwhelmingly positive. And that channel is Patriot Primes through and through. He seems
oh yeah,
generally positive most of the time, and he seems generally to be unscripted, but he pulls it off, and I think that that has a lot to do with his personality. Now,
I'd have to agree.
yeah. Now, of course, we're talking about him, and I'm now seeing that he is our one viewer. So, welcome, Patriot Prime, to the chat.
This was not planned.
It was not. I was planning on talking about you after what Catastrophe just said, and sure enough, he's there in the chat. Thank you for watching, Patriot Prime. Yeah. So sorry, what was I saying about? Oh yeah, channels. So what do you think of Bobby Skullface? And I don't want to put you on the spot too much.
I I
Feel
actually
free.
started watching. I actually watched. I went through like a period of like a month or two where I just like watched some of his videos to get a feel for the channel, and I don't want to be mean, but like the thing that stuck out to me was watching his. It was a video about like the evolution of Masterpiece Transformers or something, and it was like he was talking about Ironhide, and he was like, the shape of the chest doesn't match the spirit of the character, and I was just watching this flabbergasted. I'm like, see, I know I can nitpick in my reviews, but damn, I
Yeah.
was like I still don't know what to think about that. Like, jeez.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't watch him anymore, but that
gotcha.
always stuck with me.
I I guess I can't speak too much to that because I didn't see that particular video. What I do like about him though is that he does seem to take that same approach. Of he's going to offer you some very cut and dry and oftentimes negative statements about what he's reviewing. And it
Oh
seemed like
yeah.
for a while he was the only one. I think Lazy Eyebrow Reviewers always done a good job at offering critiques for every toy, but other than that, it really seems to me like it we're in a sea of suspiciously positive YouTube reviewers.
Yeah. I um yeah, if I may go on a tangent, like I've noticed in like Few Adams videos, he's just far more positive than he used to be, and I was like, don't get me wrong, I still love his videos. It's just like sometimes I wish he would like tear into something every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
I wish more Transformers YouTubers would take the time to just rip into something that they don't like. It's
Mm-hmm.
very cathartic and satisfying.
You know what we're talking about? It's a lot bigger than just YouTubers, though. There's a real divide in the community as to what extent it's okay, or I don't know if okay is the right word, but appropriate to be complaining about toys. Uh, and you see this, I think, most of all on the TFW forum. Uh, there, the same scene plays over and over again, where somebody will comment about how much they dislike the figure, and somebody else will say something to the effect of, "If you don't like it, don't buy it." And at that point, there is no hope for those two people. They will spiral into an endless argument online, which is a lot of fun to read, as an observer. But it creates a real kind of toxic atmosphere online, and it's not. It's because of the disagreement as to whether or not you should be complaining about toys in the first place. What do you think of that? Do you think it's appropriate, or do you think? I mean, obviously you do complain, but do you think that there's any credence to people saying, "Well, if you don't like it, don't buy it"? That's end of story. Do you buy into any of that?
Well, one thing I can say against the "don't like it, don't buy it" sort of thing is that about over half of my collection was gifts, so they're gonna have to try a different line on me.
Right.
So I think there is credence in complaining about things you buy because like sure you could go into it watching reviews and maybe you watch one of those suspiciously positive ones like you mentioned earlier and they didn't mention a problem that you really dislike on the figure, so you make your own review and you just sound really disappointed, and I think that's valid, and even so, um like uh, like Transformers reviewing is just kind of like a I don't want to sound like not pedantic. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to sound
I don't know.
like
Pessimistic.
I'm above my station or whatever.
I see.
Um, but like it's just kind of like a creative hobby for me. So like even then, sometimes I'll just buy something that I'll just get a toy that just isn't very good, and I can make a good review out of it. And even so, all the bad figures in my collection still have a place in my collection. Like like I got the Paradron Medics just a few days ago, and as much as I want to tear into that figure, I haven't been able to put Lifeline down since I got her. She's just so bad, but so interesting at the same time. Um,
I've heard a
and
lot
I
of.
just go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've heard a lot of people talking about how much they dislike RC or Lifeline. Does that just boil down to the shell forming aspect, or is there more to it?
It's a big chunk of it, yes, but it's also that the transformation itself is just really lazy. Like the actual robot doesn't really transform, and the and even the shell forming, it's not even, if it's not, I wouldn't even say it's a very easy transformation, because like you got so many different like tabs and like tolerances to worry about, and the vehicle mode just kind of doesn't really work that much. Mine doesn't even roll properly because of all the undercarriage. It's just a mess from start to end, and it really they should have just made a G1RC red figure. That's what they should have done.
Mm. So I come at this from a different angle, I think, than most people, because the only reason I have toys, I don't display any of them. They're all in horrible, horrible shape. The only reason I have toys is so that I can play out stories, and and that's just like a creative outlet of mine. And so I actually don't value the transformation whatsoever. That being said, I also don't I don't like the idea that there's only one mode. So I can't necessarily get behind action masters or red figures or statues or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
would you be interested? Do you think people in general would be interested in a line of Transformers in which separate toys for each of their modes were provided?
Myself, I wouldn't be interested. I don't really know how many people would be interested, but I do think it would be sort of like a good sort of like a subline, you know?
Hmm.
Like I don't think very many people would be interested, but what do I know? Um
At a WST scale, it could work. But
it
I have to
could.
recognize I'm just pushing what I want now, and
Yeah.
there's not necessarily any business viability to it. So I can understand why Hasbro hasn't done it or why they won't do it. But I can tell you that, and I also happen to collect just WST MicroMaster scale toys. And when you're just using them as figures, to play out your stories as kind of like, chess pieces or whatever, um, it is incredibly freeing to not have to spend 5 minutes to transform each individual little figure. And
Yeah.
when you want to play out your stories quickly at a fast pace, it really ruins everything if you have to transform 20 Autobots. You cannot keep the story flowing. It, you only have so much time in a day, and by the time you're done transforming everything, you've definitely forgotten what your story was. But I think I might be alone in a lot of departments. Do you know of a lot of people that actually play out stories with their toys?
No, but I can tell you that when I was a kid, I used to do it a lot. Um, I would basically like take every figure in my collection, which was not nearly as many as I have now, I'll admit, and just like, and my stories would like go on for like a week at a time, and there would be like massive battles, and like if I had multiple figures of the same character, I would try to find a way to justify them as new characters. Like I had like Dark of the Moon Megatron as my regular Megatron, so I took Energon Megatron and just pretended he was Deathsaurus, stuff
Hmm.
like that. um God, that was so much fun. I have
And
lots of good memories of that.
so, why do you think you stopped?
I just didn't really have the time or energy. I for a few years, in like middle or high school, I tried writing stories, but they never really got far because I would always come up with an idea that I liked better, and like it would force me to restart, and so I that kind of fell out with me too.
Hmm.
Um,
I, I feel like sometimes the problem with writing stories is it can be a little too work-like, like a high school project, at least for me. Uh,
yeah,
and it takes away from the spontaneous fun of coming up with stories. And having said that, I value trying to build my stories in a respectable way so that were I to relay, okay, well, here are the characters, here are their personalities, here's how they interact, I would have something that is at least not shameful. Um, but there's it surprises me how few people actually sit down on their knees, take their toys out, and make battle scenes, come up with stories, come up with personalities, try and think of a voice for a character, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you think that people don't do that because there's genuinely no interest in that, or do you think it's more of a I shouldn't be doing that as an adult thing?
I'd say a little of column A, a little of column B.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense for sure. Sorry, we've gone on a long tangent, and I guess
mean, that's what this show's about, isn't it?
that's the idea. Yeah, is long uninterrupted conversation. I guess it's working. You're involved in the Discord community a little bit, and I've been sort of. So maybe you're not the best person to ask about this, but I've been really interested in the Discord community because it seems like it has the youngest age bracket of collectors, and
that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, and most of my interactions with Transformer fans over the years have actually been from conventions. So I'm very fortunate to always be within an hour's driving distance of the TFCon Toronto. And so I don't do a whole lot of posting on forums. Most of the times that I talk to Transformer collectors, it's actually in person. And what's very, very different about those two worlds is up until, with the exception of maybe the most recent convention, there have been very few people within my age bracket. Anybody, 25 and under just didn't go to conventions. And I wonder if, so you're maybe a little involved in the Discord community, and I imagine that to some extent you're involved elsewhere. Do you think that there's any key differences other than just being interested in different lines in how the Transformer collectors just go about their Transformer collecting ways?
See, it's a little more difficult to answer that question because, like, I just don't really have anything else to compare it to in my own experiences. Like, because like all of my Transformers collecting friends, sorry, I met them all online. So because like I said before the show started, I've never been to any conventions because I just never had the chance to, even though every year I always wanted to go to BotCon as a kid. So I guess there actually are a lot of similarities because I've noticed on the few Discord servers that I am on, because I'm not really on very many. It's mostly like content creator specific servers and stuff like that. So like one thing I have noticed is that just like on, say, TFW, people just still seem to be really interested in like all the new stuff, and though I would agree that like in the circles where I frequent, there is a lot of love for the region from around 2010 to 2015. I mean, 2005 to 2015, just because like you said, this is like the younger age bracket of late teens, early 20s. So I guess the biggest takeaway from it is like the more things change, the more things stay the same,
Yeah. Well, there's been one particular trend that I've seen growing over the years, and I find it to be really interesting, and that's the increase of the usage of the word G1er. That didn't seem to be as much of a thing, but as more and more lines get added, and as Hasbro continues to go further and further back into their G1 roots, it seems that there's a fair deal of, I don't know if resentment is the right word.
I was about to use the exact same word.
It certainly seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like I'll agree. Like I'm a little guilty of this myself sometimes, just because, like, don't get me wrong, I love G1 designs and the alt modes and stuff like that. It has a really huge cast of characters, which it though I guess it's just that I don't think Hasbro tries to bank on that bigger cast of characters enough, and it just tries to focus more on the core. And I think that's where most of the resentment lies, because most of the people I talk to who don't really like G1 don't dislike late G1 as much, because it just doesn't get the same amount of attention as, you know, your Optimus Primes, your Bumblebees, your Ratchets, your Jazzes, the Starscreams, Megatrons. When was the last time Crossblades got a figure? You know?
So
it's just like, I just noticed that people are just frustrated by a lack of wanting to get out of that Reaganite comfort zone, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that? Oh no! My question is escaping me. Oh yeah, right there you go. It's back. Do you think that it's just a straight up counterculture type scenario, or do you think that there's anything specific? Like obviously Hasbro keeps pushing the same old characters, but I wonder.
I wouldn't say it's a counterculture, more of just a generational divide, I think.
That's fair. And what do you think, though, if it's just a generational divide, why do you think that the younger generation seems to still be interested in late G1? It's just as much not a part of their childhood as early G1.
It's like I said, it's just because it doesn't really get much attention. I'd say it's a little more mysterious and interesting, because you had a whole bunch of new ideas being thrown out. Like, I don't really know how to explain it very well, but like, it's like, for instance, classics. That's 14 years old. That's over half of my life. So, like, even though I didn't grow up with G1, I still grew up with G1, you know? Mm-hmm. So, but I also grew up with other stuff that the older fans didn't really grow up with. They were already grown by the time, like, you know, Energon and Cybertron. I love those toy lines. And I love the Cybertron cartoon. It's my absolute favorite out of all of them, mostly because of nostalgia, but for some other reasons. I grew up with the movies as well. It was the 2007 movie that really introduced me to... Actually, no, that's a lie. It was the re-release of the '86 film the year before that actually really introduced me to the wider fandom. But like, the point is, like, G1 has always sort of been this monolith in Transformers culture, and it's been, I'd say, at the expense of the other more, I don't want to say more interesting, but more different phases that the brand's gone through. And like, people just want to see more of that originality that was shown through, like, Armada and RID, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kingdom is actually a good step in the right direction. I'm not even mad that it's half G1, just because it's still a Beast Wars focused line. I actually did watch Beast Wars as a kid. I got a DVD set. Well, it was more like when I was a teenager, but yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. I do appreciate Hasbro at least making more of an effort to acknowledge these other aspects of the franchise, though I wouldn't say all of them are hits. I really don't like that Leader Class Optimus they put out in Siege. That was a mess. But yeah. I am excited to see more stuff in a similar vein, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It seems like they're dipping their toes into the water across the board.
Yeah.
And just about every line falling short of animated. I don't think there's been any real attempt for animated or for Prime that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm forgetting about something to re-release certain characters or anything like that. I've heard you. Now my memory's fuzzy on this. I can't remember if this is something that you just told me recently or if this is something I saw on one of your videos. But I've heard you associate G1 with animated. Do
Oh
you think
yeah.
those two are intrinsically tied together?
Not intrinsically. I've just seen a lot of people, a lot of G1ers who just really like animated as well. The big one that comes to mind to me is like Hugh Adams, I guess, but I don't know if he's a typical G1er. I don't know. I don't really know why or how I've made that association, but I just have.
No,
If that makes any sense.
yeah, for sure. It definitely seemed like animated. You know what it might be? It might be that when the movies came out, or sorry, when the first movie in 2007 came out, it felt definitely to a lot of people like their passion was under attack. And I'm not going to try and defend that position, but the release of animated as 2D animated cartoon with way more G1 influence than had, I think, been done up until that point. I mean, you could make an argument that up until Cyberverse, animated was the most G1 influenced Transformers TV show in a long time.
That's pretty fair. Yeah, I'll give you that.
And it was a saving grace, or it was.
I'm not going to argue. The show, it's been a long time since I watched it. The show was good. I don't have any problems with the show or even the toys. That if I can go on a slight tangent, I keep hearing people clamor for animated updates in Generations, and I just can't agree. I think the originals are perfectly fine as they are, and if Hasbro were to do them over again, I think they'd be worse than the originals.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like lately there's been much of a gap in between the classics scale figures and the masterpiece figures? Because to me, it seems like the standards are or the gap is narrowing.
The gap is narrowing, but I think there are still. Well, the thing about Masterpiece, where I can't really talk too much about it, it's because I only have two figures, and that's Blue Streak and Sideswipe, and I love them to death. They are practically perfect figures in my book, though I probably wouldn't say the same about any of the more recent Masterpiece figures. I'm just not interested in them because nearly every single one of them has few issues. But I would say that the design ethos of the recent Generations line is getting more aligned with the Masterpiece figures that I like, that I have, and that I like, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Like there's like for Masterpiece Sideswipe, for example, there's just some kind of really graceful simplicity to the transformation that I can kind of see the influences in some of these retail figures. And even though the actual quality of the figures is nowhere near as good as Masterpiece Sideswipe, I can sort of see a lot of influences. Though, if I recall correctly, aren't a few old Masterpiece designers actually working on retail lines, or am I mistaken?
Unfortunately, I haven't got the foggiest idea.
Like correct me. Like if someone in the chat,
we've got one person
watching, all one person watching. If I'm mistaken, correct me, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Shogo Hasui was working on one of the retail lines. But
It sounds
I'm
awesome.
not. Don't take that as gospel truth.
I'll post that on Toy Hacks. We'll start a blog, and I'll quote you specifically.
Oh damn.
Yeah, the posability of the toys now is insane to me, and it kind of snuck up on me. Uh, I was just taking pictures the other day. Oh no, I'm not going to get the name right. It was a third-party blaster. I believe it was Transistor. It sounds right. It was from
It
six
was a,
years
is
ago.
it the one with posable fingers?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's Transistor.
Okay,
That's the only reason I know what it's called.
right. That toy, at the time, to me, seemed like a perfectly posable toy. If anything, it was great, especially compared to what other figures we were getting at the time. But trying to get any pose that I could think of out of that toy was a goddamn nightmare. I couldn't move the legs up high enough. I couldn't move them enough to the side. The ankle tilt was clunky, and the arms didn't have full range of movement. And I had to take a step back and realize to what extent I don't have that problem with any of the newer figures. And for a long time, that's kind of what I attributed, if anything, the main advantage to the Masterpiece line is that you could really pose them however you wanted, down to the fingers, which was insane to me. And now it's getting to the point where that seems to be the main difference in terms of articulation. Masterpiece figures have posable hands, or at least most of them, and I'm probably lumping in third-party Masterpiece with that, but
Yeah.
it's just crazy. And now on the subject of posable hands, for a long time for me, this has been an issue of mine. Do you see any value in posable fingers individually?
Like in no, not really. Unless the figure is really big. Like I have Cybertron Primus and he has posable hands. So like I think that's fine, but if you wanted to like put fingers on a deluxe, I wouldn't really trust your judgment.
Right.
I just don't really see the need to pose hands very often, except for maybe like a closed and an open sort of that. Sort of like what Earthrise Optimus does with, and the two Masterpiece figures that I have, where it's just all four fingers at once. But I've never really felt a great need or desire to have individually articulated fingers on a transforming toy.
Mhm. It seems to me that it takes away from two key points. The actual hands themselves tend to look ugly, in my opinion, when you try and throw in too many joints there. And it seems to be an impossibility to have posable hands and to also have, uh, the ability to hold onto a gun tightly. Those two things just never seem to go hand in hand. Uh, uh, no pun intended.
Yeah, I do think they can look ugly, but I have seen examples where they actually look pretty good. Um, can you repeat the last part? I was reading the chat message by Brandon Gorey. Said alternators was good, and I have to agree.
Oh yeah, alternators, and I saw that too. He pointed out that it was really the beginning of Masterpiece, and I absolutely would agree. And it was also potentially the last. Well, okay, I don't know what I'm really talking about here, but it was interesting because it was G1, but reimagined. Uh, it had all of the characters you were used to, but it had a cool kind of gimmick to it, which is they're all cars now. They're
Yeah,
all modern cars. It'd
yeah,
be neat to see that kind of thing happen again. And Siege, I guess you could say that it kind of went in that direction, where it tried to offer Cybertronian variations. but they ended up seeming a little too close to the Earth mode vehicles, which is why at Toy Hacks we decided to make Earth-like sticker sets for them, because it didn't seem
Yeah.
like they really gone the full mile. And it would be nice, to see like a jet version of the Alternators line, where all of the Transformers turn into jets, and that's just how it is. Something creative, what you want.
Like a reversal alternity Starscream.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for sure. And sorry, you asked me to repeat my question. Oh no. Let's see. What were we just talking about prior to alternators?
It was right
Posable
after
hands.
you said that posable hands looked ugly a lot of the time.
Yeah, you can't seem to ever. No figure seems to be able to hold on to their gun if they've got posable hands.
Oh yeah, I noticed that with Blue Streak and Sideswipe. Neither of them can really hold them unless you really squeeze the hands, and even then it's a crapshoot. I do like figures where like they're designed where with like a locking mechanism in the palm instead of relying on finger grip. I think that's really smart design. Like if there's like a channel inside the palm, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I've also noticed it on retail figures like Generation Skullgrin and his mold mates can't really hold on to his axe very well.
Right. Yeah, the whole Masterpiece line for me is it's the complete opposite of what I'm looking for. I like stubby little, like tiny little statues of my characters, and I don't need them to transform, and I don't need them to be posable either. For my own collection, of course. And then here comes this line of high price,
the exact opposite.
Transforming, extremely posable, and it takes an hour to transform any one of them.
I mean, Sideswipe's about only as complex as your regular retail figure. If you don't have Masterpiece Sideswipe, I highly recommend him. So, of course, he is still big.
Right. He would be maybe a little out of scale with WST Optimus.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can see how people would want to go for the more posable aspect of it, but the length and transformation to me just totally kills it. And it's not just about playing with your toys. You have to wonder what that does to how often people actually bother to take a look at the alt mode on their toys. Does anybody transform their Transformers anymore, or is it just permanently left in robot mode?
Well, for display, for display and storage, I just keep them in robot mode, but I always have like a good few figures that I just keep on my desk. And it's usually like an eclectic bunch. Usually it's just stuff I'm about to review, but I mess with them pretty much constantly. So like about every day I transform at least like 3 of the things. So
well, you're one of the good ones then, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you could say it that way.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because it used to be a critique that I would have of certain fictions where the Transformers just didn't transform enough, and I just wanted to yell at the page or at the TV or whatever it happened to be, that hey, these are Transformers. They're supposed to transform once in a while, and I remember I think that was the case for. I think a lot of IDW. I didn't read the comics yet, but I have to do a lot of research for my sticker sets, and so I'm always pulling up pictures online. I'm reading through the stories, and it seems to me that the characters don't seem to transform very often. It's kind of like they're mimicking the ways of the collectors nowadays. That Transformers being able to transform is almost a secondary gimmick now. They're largely just, robotic action figures.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Now, you do a lot of photography for your videos.
Yes.
Do Do you have a preference when it comes to shooting the alt modes, or when it comes to or the robot modes?
What do you mean?
Like for instance, so I do a lot of the product photography here, and I like uh, probably more often than not taking pictures of the car modes. To me, trying to apply the kind of uh, scenes that you'd see like maybe in a Michael Bay movie, um, and you know how he pictures the cars. I find that to be
Okay.
really interesting.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for vehicle mode, it's a lot harder to get a good action shot. And if you watch like a bunch of my videos all in a row, you'll probably see that I usually just default to like a chase shot, and I really need to figure out some better shots to make. But I really like taking pictures of the vehicle modes where it's like something you'd see on a showroom floor.
mhm.
Really low to the ground angle. I love shots like that for vehicle mode, and I should really do that more often.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How crazy do you get with your lighting in your pictures?
Not very, because I the review space is kind of tucked away in a corner of one of the rooms where I keep stuff, and like I only have like 4 lights, and I it doesn't really look that great with only like one on. I try to do that for like shadow shots or something, but it never really looks quite right. If I ever get like uh, a bigger studio, for lack of a better word, I'll probably try to experiment more with lights. But right
Mm.
now, I just don't really have the space to do that sort of thing.
I remember hearing once on a commentary for the 2008, I think it was. It might have been 2009. The newest, or sorry, the first of the new generation of Star Trek movies. Um, what was it just called? Star Trek, I think.
I
Uh,
think so. I
and
never
that
watched it.
Well, one thing that's cool about it is that J.J. Abrams, uh, I think he did that movie right prior to doing Prime. But
I didn't
he
know he
gets
worked on Prime.
That's been my understanding, and that's one of those things where now that I've said it out loud, I'm of course the only thing on my mind is, are you sure about that, Alex, or did you
I'm
just pull
gonna
that out of your ass? But
I'm gonna open up the wiki while you talk.
all right. Hopefully, I'm not wrong. Maybe it was just for like the first episode or something. But I remember being told that as at the time. But anyways, what I really liked about the commentary is he started talking about what he would do with flashlights with his while he was shooting, and it just boils down to lens flare, which I take it is a fairly common technique. That there's nothing particularly innovative about that, but I've been surprised by how you can totally change the feel of your pictures just by uh, holding a flashlight and aiming it into the camera in just the right way. And then you can get extra creative by putting, colored tape over your flashlight and creating lens flare of a particular color. And then you go down the whole rabbit hole of, okay, now that I've got a flashlight on hand, what if I shine it behind the figure and create a kind of a spotlight? And that's kind of where I tend to have the most fun with photography, is just playing around with a single flashlight. But
I
you
have I have actually tried experimenting with stuff like that before, where uh, at the end of my videos where I do like a little teaser of whatever figures coming up next uh, in the lineup. I like I turned off all the lights, had a like one of those like lights that you can like stick at the bottom of a shelf and press it, and it lights up the shelf. Um, and I stuck that behind the figure, and it would make like a silhouette. It worked sometimes, but not as often as I'd like.
Yeah, but like there's a whole world of creativity when it comes to photography. And I see Brandon in the chat is asking. I don't know if he's asking this question to me or to you about adding effects in our pictures, but I don't add any, Photoshop effects per se, but something like lens flare is definitely an effect, even though it's
Yeah.
not, typically what people are referring to. But
I
you can
don't.
get. Go ahead.
I don't really do any effects in my pictures, but sometimes I have like Photoshop things into my pictures where just to make like a joke land. Like in my G1 Outback video, I put like an Australian guy inside the. Wait, no. Yeah. Inside the truck, and I had like an explosion where it was like he was shooting at something.
So
I don't really remember. It was a long time since I made that video.
Right. What made him an Australian guy?
Because Outback's Australian.
So just the person being in Outback by default makes them Australian?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. We did an upgrade set for the G1 mini bots, the wave of them that were released that had Bumblebee, Outback, Tailgate, and Swerve, I believe.
Yeah.
And when it came time to do Outback, the only real ideas I could come up with was how many Australian references can we throw into the set? Because other than being Australian and having a Decepticon detector, what's he known for? Very little. And so that's just.
I could imagine there could be like a set to turn him into the van that belongs to Sniper from Team Fortress 2. That would be funny.
Yeah.
I don't think the alt mode's quite right for that though.
Yeah. We had the Australian flag. Something about, I think there was some kind of like Australian animal rights organization there. Yeah. But then we also gave him the Decepticon detector, which, we really threw the book at that one. Everything from that one episode. It's funny. The characters that are meant to be of a particular country, it only seems to ever be the ones that, at least in Transformers, it only seems to be the ones that have a particular accent. So no Transformer is ever said to be Canadian. That just doesn't seem to happen. But there are a lot of Transformers that like you've got Perceptor, who I believe was intended to have a British accent. I might be wrong about that.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then you've got your Australian Transformer.
Like Jetfire.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Are there any others, or is that what it boils down to?
I think that's pretty much it. I can't think of any other. Oh, the Wreckers from Dark of the Moon. They're Scottish.
Oh, right. Do you think that was... Were there any original ties in between the Wreckers and Scotland? Was Scott Simon?
I guess
not Scottish, right?
I don't know if he is. I just if I just had to guess like why they're Scottish, I guess it's just that Scottish people are tough, stereotypically.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I guess that's why they also look like rednecks too. They can be pretty scary.
Mm.
Don't want to mess with a Scotsman or a redneck. You'll get messed up pretty quick.
Yeah. Certain accents just have a way of coming across as tougher for some reason.
Yeah.
Brandon mentioned that Ironhide, of course, has a Texas accent. Of course. Yeah. I wonder if Prime was at all intended to have any kind of Southern accent, because obviously it's voiced by the same guy.
I never heard a Southern accent in Prime's voice. Prime never sounded Southern to me.
I'm going to start paying attention to that going forward. Anyways, we're just about done, I think, here. I had one other question for you. I haven't had a chance to ask this to any other YouTubers, but obviously, and we don't need to go into this, the pandemic bad, but has pandemic been good for YouTubers, do you think?
That is a tough question.
And
Um,
good in the very specific narrow
no,
range.
I get
Yeah,
you. I get you.
yeah.
I can't really. It's been kind of good for me, this year, just because like I it just gives me a little more, time to do things, though I've been kind of scaling back how often I make videos because I got more important things to worry about now. But it's also kind of a trade-off because, like, look how Earthrise was handled this year. That's been kind of a pain for everyone.
Hmm.
And really bad distribution is not conducive for a toy review channel. I'll admit. I haven't really had any problems because I'm just not really that interested in much of Earthrise, but I can understand why a lot of other people are frustrated.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's had its trade-offs. I'll say.
Yeah. I notice a lot of your videos tend to be about older figures, which I think is pretty cool. Because I don't think that when a lot of these figures were coming out, there was a thriving YouTuber community to review these toys. And I think that the whole Unicron trilogy toy line is really underrated. And I think you've got a fair
Oh,
amount.
I agree considerably. I don't have nearly as many Unicron trilogy reviews out as I'd like, but I am going to work on that. Cybertron Overhaul is coming up within, I guess, the next 2 months, considering I'm only doing one review a week now. So yeah, he'll be the next one. Though I'll also be reviewing a certain Revenge of the Fallen figure that I've been wanting to put on display for a while. But yeah, I just really I don't have nearly as many older figures reviewed as I'd like to, because I feel like lately I've been focusing a bit too much on the new stuff, and I'm still gonna focus on the new stuff that I get, but from starting from now on, I'd like to take a few more detours back into the past of my collection because I have so much old stuff that I just love to review.
You know what's so insane about those old Unicron trilogy toys is um, you can directly see the extent to which people overlook them, especially if you go to any conventions. Because what you'll see at the end of every convention is that the tables that still have the most stuff have nothing but Unicron trilogy stuff, and maybe some
I
Titan
would be
series.
in heaven.
I was just talking to a friend of mine
That
who's
is
also.
paradise for me.
Oh, by all means, yeah. So I was just talking to a friend of mine who happens to also really be into the Unicron trilogy, and he was saying how, like, when he goes to conventions and he wants a toy, they're practically and sometimes literally giving them away for free because nobody buys them. And yet there's some amazing toys in there. There are some
There,
crappy ones
there's some
too.
of there's some of my favorites in my whole collection, like Cybertron, Optimus Prime. That one is probably consistently pricey just because it's big and really really good. But
Most
yeah,
of the mini cons are great.
the mini cons are great. I actually unironically like the power linking gimmick in Energon. It's really fun. I have Energon, Rodimus, and Prowl. They're the only two deluxe Autobots I have from that line, but they're so much fun. And like people are like, Rodimus is bad. Look how bad he looks. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, he looks awful, but he's so much fun in every single mode.
Hmm.
Um, I,
And
I'm starting to go back to alternators too. I'm trying to back collect. I started to go back to RID. Um, yeah,
Spy changers are totally underrated as well. Like they're
I
just alternators. They're great.
yeah. I'm actually working on getting a complete set of RID spy changers. I only need 4 more.
Oh wow.
Um, I So I get a lot of my figures from this website called Transformerland. They're based in Florida, and I live close by enough that shipping's not an issue. So like I've been getting a lot of I've been doing a lot of back collecting through them, which is to me a little more satisfying than collecting the new stuff, because you can just sometimes like they get a new stock of inventory in, and you just find a figure you've been pining after for 10 years for like $15, and you're like, hot damn, I'm gonna buy that. So I just like to share my newest haul from them. It's still on the way, but I ordered Alternator Smoke Screen, because
Cool.
I've been wanting to do like a series where I go through each Alternator's release in order of release. I think that would be fun. I'm
Mhm.
getting RID Wars and who did he Crosswise, RID Sideburn and Daytonus, Revenge of the Fallen Bumblebee, and Mudflap.
Oh wow, that's quite a haul.
Yeah, I got a lot of them for pretty cheap. But what I like to do is just like get they let you they let you keep figures on hold after you buy them, so that like you can like have a bunch sent. It's sort of like the pile of loot at BBTS. But I like to like get something every few months and then just have a big box sent to me. It's really it's my favorite way to collect right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're doing this inadvertently, but there's really something to be said about going for those old lines, because uh, money it stops being nearly as much of an issue. And
Yeah,
Transformer collecting can be really stressful when every toy that you buy is $40 plus. And it starts to take a serious toll on every other aspect of your life if it's something that you can't keep under control. And like anything else that you have to kind of rein in, that's not an easy thing. I'm a smoker,
yeah,
for instance,
I
and that's a hard thing for me to try and rein in. And
yeah.
thank God I collect Micromasters, and they're all cheap. Because if Micromasters were expensive, I would also not have very much money, and then I wouldn't be able to smoke. So where would I be?
Now, I've been able to actually get some really nice finds at TF Land for, I'd say, pretty good prices. Like, I got Titans Return Overload for $20, like 22 something. Um, I got a sealed Avio Swerve for less than $25. Now I know they don't usually go for very much on there, but I just thought that it was a really nice find. It was like $24 and it was sealed, had the instructions and everything.
Hmm.
Pretty good figure too. Um, they have BotCon stuff. They get tons of shipments of Unicron trilogy stuff, movie stuff, Generations. Of course, like stuff like Titans Return and Combiner Wars, that gets pretty pricey. Like I don't see myself buying too much Combiner Wars stuff from them, just because like they're like it's like $30 for a deluxe. I don't know why they're so expensive, but the stuff that I usually go for, like Energon and Cybertron, that's pretty cheap. So I really like shopping through them.
Yeah, for sure. You've got you're interested in the perfect range of toys. Well, I'd say we're just about done here. Do you want to plug anything that you're doing? I know that you've got another channel that you do podcasts with. I don't know if you want to mention that, or if there's anything you're working on you want to let the one person listening know about.
Oh, there's nothing that isn't already in the description that I want to plug.
Cool,
You can
cool,
find my channel right under the title. There you go.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, and
Thank
that's
you.
it. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.